Hi there, this is Cyril. Welcome to this new episode of We'll Practice Together Guitar from Rick Beato's Quick Lesson. So today we'll see the spread triads and how they can sound so great, how to learn them. I hope you will enjoy the lesson. I hope you like the little plant here. And make sure to grab your guitar and take a deep breath. And together we'll try to go through that and see how we can remember and practice those nice concepts. First, if you want to support the channel, remember to either subscribe or share the video, or you can also listen to my music on some of my playlists on the YouTube channel as shown right there. Okay, thank you very much. Let's get going. Let's listen to Rick Beato's quick lesson.
Quick lessons, great practice to take a common chord progression like 2, 5, 1, 6 and practice your spread triad inversions in them. Let's say you're in the key of G, it'd be like A minor, D major, G major, E major, right?
Alright, so before going into what the G major scale is and all the chords he's using, let's try to understand what an inversion is and how important it can sound in some very well-known classical music. Let's have a look on the keyboard. So if we take the C major chord, which is composed of the root, the C, and then the third, 1, 2, 3, the E, and then the G as the fifth. So this is the C major, right? C major on the guitar. Okay. And so this is the, I'd say, regular order of the notes, C, E, and G. But if we want to change the order of the notes, then we have an inversion. For example, we could start with the G, because we have the G 1 octave lower, right? And then we have an inverted chord. And this sounds much nicer. I guess you've heard this. Without the inversion, that would do. So it doesn't sound as nice. So the inversion of chords, the notes of the chords, they can give a different feeling of the chord. And especially you can change the feeling of resolving the chord. For example, this chord, the regular one, everything seems done, right? There's nothing more to tell because we have the root here and we have the fifth, which is a very strongly resolving note, right? If we perform the inversion starting from the fifth, so G and then C, E, it's also a major chord, but the third, ending on the third, especially if we play this melody, it's like we didn't finish the melody. We'd like to come back to the C or the G, like this. Or, right, to finish the melody. But when we stop on the third, there's an ambiguity that starts to happen, I believe. So that's one of the interests of chord inversion. Now Rick talks about spread triads and inversion of those spread triads. For that we need to have a look at the fretboard and of course go to the G major scale because it's the scale he's playing on. First we can just find out on the keyboard what the G major scale is. We have to start from G and of course have a major sound, so the right intervals to get the major scale. So it's almost only the white notes. As for the C major scale, you just have a little change here where you play the F sharp instead of playing the F note, right? Okay, and so on the guitar you can just play the G and then play the major scale pattern. So if we have a look on the fretboard, okay, so here is the G major scale on the fretboard. Again, if we start on fret 3, this one, and then play right, G, A, B, and so on. Okay. Now let's find the triads of different chords. Rick has mentioned the 2, 5, 1, and 6 as a regular chord progression. So the scale, the chord number 2 of the scale is a minor. It's the A minor chord. This one here. So a 2, 5 being the major G chord here. And then 5, the 1 would be the G, of course. And the 6 would be the E minor. Actually, during his demonstration, Rick plays the E major, but it's just a borrowed chord from the parallel major scale, I guess. Anyway, the principle of spread triads will be the same. So what is a spread triad? So instead of playing the regular triads on the A minor, so let's have a look at the A minor chord right there. So we have the bottom of the neck position that we are familiar with. Starting from the 5th string, we don't play the lowest string here. So we have the A, E, and then C, E. So you see the notes are the A, C, E. And instead of playing these notes in this order, we will play inversion, but we will spread them on the fretboard. So for example, here we could play an inversion here, right? But this is not spread. All the strings are next to each other, right? All the notes are close. So spread triads mean there is at least one string that separates the triad. So for example, the very first spread triad he plays is this one, A, E, and C, right? Okay. And this corresponds here to A, E, C. Oh, sorry. So A, E, and then C. Right? And then, so I had to slow down the video because I'm not still very good at that. I'm far from being good, but it's a very good exercise to try to hear what he plays. So here are the triads he's playing. And so it's in this order. You have the A, E, C that we've just seen. And then the next one is C on the 8th fret, and then A, E. So it's another order, right? Sorry. Right, this one. And then the next one is E, C, A. So, and then the last one is A, E, C, which is the same as the first one, up an octave, right? So the last one. Okay? So a cool exercise to practice on is to play those triads back and forth, and maybe one by one several times. For example, 4 times the same one. So grab your guitar and try the first one, A, C, E, A, E, C, sorry. And then we move to the next one. And then the last one. And Pay attention to the strings that you have to mute, because when we play spread triads like that, we have open strings, of course, since we are skipping strings to spread the triads. And so what happens, and you might hear, if I don't pay attention, you see you can have all the other strings ringing, so you have to mute them either with your right hand or with your fingers on the left hand, trying to mute the next string, the string that is next to the note you're trying to play. For example, here when I play the C right there, my finger mutes the string, the two strings on the both sides of the E. You see? That helps a lot. Still have a lot of progress, but when you practice that, make sure to have the cleanest sound and just to enjoy the guitar sound. And then once we're a bit more familiar, we can try to go directly from one shape to the other shape. And then maybe try to go down. So. Alright, so let's go the way up and then the way down. Again. Okay, so it's a very, very nice exercise because it sounds a bit like Bach. In the comments of Rick Beato's quick lesson, you have some comments saying that it's Bachish, actually, because you really have this feeling, right? And when you play those spread triads, right, like this one, so, sorry. And then it's quite clear on the keyboard how it works, because you go to the next note each time, right? If you take the first note of the spread triads, you have and then, which is also a triad, A, C, E, and then back to A. So this one. So it's the root note, so to say, of each triad. Okay? So let's have a look to the D triads that Rick is playing. So we can choose the D chord here on the G major scale. So from the 10th fret. And then so F sharp, D, A, and then so this one is interesting because you have two string skipping. You skip the D string and then you skip the B string. Right? Sounds so nice. Okay. And then the last one is so from the 12th string. And again, we can practice the same way as before. So of course we're on the D major, so it sounds much nicer. It's a bit complicated just to remember the shapes of those triads. So a cool thing is try to figure out where are common chord shape. For example, if we look here at the 10th fret here, we have this shape, right, to play the the D major chord, right? This one, which is the E major shape, right? When we play an E major, we have the same shape with all the strings, all the open strings that corresponds to the bar here. So like this. Okay, and so if we move this shape to the 10th fret, we have this E major, and you see that the triad is based on this E major. You have one triad is exactly this, is a part of this chord, right? So that's the E minor. Here you also have the first triad is based, of course, is really sounds like the initial chord actually. This one. And you have the second one that starts from the F sharp here. And for this one you can remember the G shape of the chord, you know, the G. If we play an open G, we have those two we have those two notes here, right? And so we have this shape, right? And so if we move that to the 10th fret, okay? And so if we start from the F sharp, so it's a mix between the triads is a mix between the G and the E shape, right? And if we look at the last triad, which is really nice, what we have here is almost the D shape. We have. And if you look here, this is the 12th fret, so again this is the same notes as here, the bottom of the neck. So if we play those triangle here, this triangle, we have the regular D major, which we have again up there. Okay, but instead of playing the this triad which is not spread, we play the spread one, so we play this and we skip the D, which is already played before, and we go to the F sharp. So that's the one. Okay, so maybe as a second practice exercise, now that we can roughly understand and play those triads, we can play them again several times the same one, or we can go to the next one and so on. Okay, but maybe we can try to play them in random. So maybe we start with the last one, right? And so on. Here is a nice exercise I'd like to propose. Again, it's always nice to build a little loop, a little backing track with a looper, and then to try to apply the concept we've just learned, because that puts us in a situation of jamming with ourselves, and that prepares us, of course, to be playing with other musicians, right? And that will push us to listen to the chord progression and to play the right spread triads at the right moment. Of course, we will record a very slow chord progression, and maybe we will just keep the 2-5-1 and not adding the E major, because that would add some complexities, but we can also try. And so then to improvise over this loop, we will have the full G major scale to play over, which is very well known, so we can play with the G major pentatonic, for example. But when we will hear the A minor chord, we can try to play those triads. For example, we've just seen, and same thing over the D major. Okay, so let's build the loop. A little tip to build a nice loop: we can of course play the regular chords like A minor and D major, but if we have a look at the fretboard and the G major scale, something interesting is that if we play the bar chords here, for example A minor right there, here we go, and then the D major, right? So again, these are the regular chords, but they're just next to each other. But what is cool is that we have all this column of notes that we can play. So we can modify a bit the chords just to have a nicer sound. For example, the A minor, we can remove the A here and have the G sounding, and the G sounding permits to have A major 7. You see, when we add the ed, we add the G to the ACE, we have a more complex sound, which is a bit more, I'd say, jazzy, if that makes any sense. And also for the D, which is the 5th chord of the scale. So A minor is the 2, and you see the 2nd chord of the scale, and the 5th chord of the scale is D7. We can also have a D7, right? And so the D7, we need to have the C ringing. So when we play this bar shape here, right? So right now I'm playing this one, so the regular D. You see it contains only the F sharp, the D, and the A. If I remove my ring finger, I left up my ring finger, and then I have the C note that is ringing. Right? Okay. So that sounds nice too, because it adds a 7th to the chord. So we have something a bit more. And then we can go to the... It's a nice tip, I think, to render the loop a bit more interesting. So we have now the G major scale we can play on this little loop, but of course we will try now to apply the triads, what we've learned, especially on the right chords. So now this is the G chord ringing, this one, and so now we're back to A minor. All right. Now we have the D chord. And then we have the G. So let's keep the fretboard so that we have the scale and we can memorize it by practicing it. During the practice, we start to hear nice transitions. For example, on the D, so we want to go from this F sharp to G. Then we're back on the A. And so on. We can also practice just trying to have this backish sound. Thank you very much for sticking till the end of this video. Please remember to subscribe. You can of course support the channel by listening to my music, the playlist on my YouTube channel. I hope you enjoy practicing. It's a pleasure to play with those nice instruments, and it's such a great privilege to have all this knowledge on the internet now. So let's practice the triads and try to incorporate them in our improvisation and composition. See you in the next video. Goodbye.